Terry Murphy with the Women's Wisdom Network, Senior Editor for Realty Times, Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, in the men's room with Murph. But today we have a spectacular woman, both in real estate and in business, and she has a spectacular story to go with it. Her name is Nicole Bostrom Cogran. She has a real estate team that she runs, the Real Estate Center in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. I've been there. It's a little chilly there, isn't it today, Nicole?
Yeah, and rainy.
Yeah, so there's that. And Nicole is a senior coach with Workman Success Systems. She has risen to the top faster than anything I've ever seen. She has a beautiful, precociously adorable daughter named Kate, and she has a great story to go with it. Tell us a little bit about, I mean, obviously you have a background in real estate, but you really started off as an attorney. Can you give us a little background about this journey, all of which I promise you is going to be relevant to her amazing story?
Yeah, so actually I got my real estate license when I was 19, so even before I was an attorney. My mom was in real estate and she just said, hey, do you want to get your real estate license? I was in college and I said, yeah, that would be great. It was an opportunity to help her and learn about the business. And so that was kind of how it got started. And then I was still in college and then continued on to law school at Marquette. And then I was a lawyer for a minute and discovered that my purpose is not in hearing people in their negative parts of their life. That didn't feel right in my soul. It was, everybody was whining all the time. So sorry to lawyers out there. So I hopped back into real estate and really kind of took it from there and just love helping people and love experiencing life in a positive frame of mind.
Well, real estate's still stressful, but it has a happy ending generally, especially when we're putting people in their dream home. But your dream went farther. You wanted to have a family.
Yes. So yeah, go ahead.
Tell us about that.
So we were, I was told at a very early age that it was going to be hard for me to have children because I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is PCOS. And a lot of women are affected by it and don't even realize it. My dad was actually the one who saw a news article on it and said, hey, I think you might have this. And then I went to the doctor and they confirmed, yes, I do have it. So I knew it was going to take a lot to get pregnant and have a child. And so we started, I got married when I was about 25 and we tried for about 10 years and nothing happened. On 9/9/09 at 10 a.m., I had my first appointment with a fertility doctor and the 9 o'clock slot was full. So I had to go with 10. He went through all of our stuff and he had a concern that I could potentially have a cancerous situation. And so he had me go on some medication and come back in 6 months. 6 months into that, after he did another exam, and I was supposed to have my appointment on Monday, and I moved it up to Wednesday to hear the results. And he told me that he gave me all my slides and told me to go and see an oncologist. He was really concerned about cancer, and he actually passed away on Saturday. So my fertility story has had a very long journey of that was my first experience with a fertility doctor. And so we ended up kind of bouncing. We went to the oncologist. The guy said he was a worrywart and not to worry, that everything looked okay, which was good. And then we just kind of took a break. And then we ended up going to, it ended up being, I think, 6 fertility clinics and doctors, most of which told me, they couldn't help me or wouldn't help me. I did find one that said that they would help. I was able to get some embryos and do IVF, and that unfortunately resulted in miscarriage. And then when I went back to the fertility clinic to say, okay, let's try again, at that point they told me that I no longer fit their guidelines, that they had changed their guidelines for women that they would help, mostly because of my weight and my BMI, and they I don't know if they don't want to mess up their numbers or what the situation is, but so that was pretty devastating to be, 4 weeks off of a miscarriage and then to be told you can't even try again. Really hard.
And let's add the 10 years of anticipation of trying to create a family. I mean, that's some incredible grit. But because I know you, I know that there was a divine intervention here. Tell us, because this is such an amazing story, but so there you are, you're devastated. You're obviously not feeling great physically, emotionally,
Right.
you're probably a little bit trashed as well.
Yeah.
And then what was the next step?
So it kind of flips back to an experience that we had. My husband's cousin was started high school. She was 14, started high school, and it was her second day of school. And she came home and she said that she couldn't see the chalkboard very well. They told her they took her to an ophthalmologist. The ophthalmologist said, you need to go to Children's Hospital right away. They went to Children's Hospital and they found that she had a golf ball sized tumor in the back of her head. And they did a stint and drained some fluid, and they determined that she had stage 4 cancer, and she was going to have emergency brain surgery the next day. We went and visited her that night, and afterwards we went out to dinner with Tony's mom and grandma, and this place we've been going to for years. And I'd never seen a table outside before, and I've never seen a table outside since. And it was a beautiful September day, so we decided to eat outside. And as we were sitting there, a gentleman is walking towards us, and I knew he was going to talk to us. And I was hoping that nobody would be standoffish. I just had this feeling. And sure enough, he walked right up to us and he started talking to Tony, and he asked, did you go to this school? Did you go to that school? And Tony said, no. And then the guy said, is your name Tony? And Tony said, yeah. Tony is really good at knowing people's names. And he ended up having a conversation about prayer and Jesus and his mother Mary and this pain in his side. And I didn't really put too much together with it. He went in and got pizza and came back out, and we were still outside. And he said, I'll put our hands together and say Jesus on 3. Now, this is kind of unusual behavior.
Yeah. And are we in Wisconsin?
We're in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having lived in Wisconsin, that's just a little bit out there, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
And we were telling him about my husband's niece who also needed prayer. And so we were having conversations about that. And so we put our hands in and said, Jesus on 3. And as he turned to walk across the street, he stopped in the middle of the street and he turned around and he said, the world would be a better place if there was more prayer. And he turns and he walks, and I didn't see him get into a car, didn't see him, he just gone. It wasn't until the next day that I'm thinking this through and I'm really realizing kind of what happened. Now, flash forward to our fertility story, and that's just kind of a segment of what our fertility story is. But we went from doctor to doctor. One doctor told me that she wasn't going to help me because she didn't think I was going to live long enough to raise a child to the age of 18. You can imagine the shock from that.
Yes.
And we were, really questioning, is this, I would call people, I would call moms that I knew, and I would say, is this really worth it? Is it really worth, is being a mom really worth it? And I'm like, and you can really tell me the truth, because I wanted to know, is it worth fighting for? Am I supposed to continue this fight? And they all said the same thing. Yes, it's hard, challenging, but the most rewarding thing that you're going to experience.
Well,
So,
my mom had 9 children, plus we didn't, make ourselves. It's a humongous job to create a human, and then to create the environment where they set up their beliefs and their values. So what I'm hearing here, though, and I, as you all listen to this, I mean, it comes to a beautiful story, is that you just had to have an enormous amount of faith to keep up with 10 years of anticipation. And then I know just from speaking to other people, I know that IVR is also very difficult on the physical body. And then you have this amazing experience with a pizza angel. So continue the story, because I want everybody to hear the good parts.
Yeah. So we continued on our fertility journey. A friend of ours had, and just interestingly enough, on the day that I had the miscarriage, a friend of ours had, his ex-wife had a baby, and on the same day as our miscarriage. And they called and said, I don't know that she's going to keep this baby. Would you consider an adoption? And so we can do this. And I said, yes. I mean, the fact that the baby was born on the day we had the miscarriage, I considered that a major sign. So we were all signed up for an adoption, and we got our very first adoption referral, because that one was still kind of, we're not sure what's going to happen. But we got our very first adoption referral when I was showing houses to a sister of a past client. And I was in the house and I was like, look at this, like, we got an adoption referral. And the next morning, her sister called and said she wanted to have a baby for us at 6:22 in the morning. And we had discussed this previously as kind of a possibility, but it was never anything that I really, I don't know, I never asked anybody, right? It was
Well, that's
just
a kind of a huge favor, by the way. And so basically a surrogate shows up in your life, just like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, just like that. Absolutely. So we said, okay, I said, I'm going to go to church on Sunday. Like, I need to figure out if this is the right thing for us. As I'm crossing the street to walk into church, I remember thinking I'm going to get answers. And as I walk in and I get a copy of the bulletin, it literally is a picture of a man with his eyes pointed towards God up, and it says across the top, it says, look again. And I was like, okay, I'm following you. And that day's sermon was all about the story of Jonah and being, a being living inside another being, a big fish, and surviving. And I'm like, okay, I understand we're supposed to do this. Like, this is coming across loud and clear.
At least you get your signs clearly. Okay.
Right. Right. Definitely clearly. And so as we did this, I had to find another fertility clinic that would work with us. And as I was typing in Wisconsin fertility clinics, a friend of mine texted it at that exact moment when I hit send and said, just randomly, have you ever considered a fertility clinic in Madison? Which is just interesting, random thing. And at that exact moment, Wisconsin Fertility Institute, which is where we ended up working with, came up, and I was like, okay, there's another sign. So I immediately picked up the phone, talked to the nice lady in the office. In a shocking turn of events, she transferred me right to the doctor. We had about a 15-minute conversation. I sent her all of our entire fertility file, and she's like, I'm going to change your protocol a little bit, but we can totally do this. And while I was incredibly apprehensive that it was actually going to work and a doctor was actually going to work with us, she was 100% with us, and to this day is, a great friend of mine. So we started the fertility process with her, got some embryos, did genetic testing because I didn't want to struggle with infertility, or I didn't want the surrogate to struggle with the possibility of a miscarriage. So I understood at that point that miscarriages happen when that double helix doesn't form correctly. And so we wanted to do everything we could. So as the embryologist said, as he passed over the tube, he said, here's one genetically perfect little girl. And so that is our daughter, Kate. And so that's kind of the story in a nutshell. When our surrogate got pregnant, there was a little hiccup. She started to bleed, and we were told that the baby may not be surviving. She had gotten pregnant, but it was questionable if the baby was going to survive. I went out to Colorado because I find my peace in the mountains. And so we took a drive, and we came across a waterfall, which I now call Kate's Waterfall. And we sat there and prayed, just to have this work. Let's hope that this works. And so we ended up coming back, and we went to the doctor's appointment that following Monday. And I was told that there wasn't a heartbeat. I saw a flicker, but that wasn't a heartbeat. And, I was told, unfortunately, this isn't going to work. Having gone through a miscarriage myself, I said, well, don't we need to go down to radiology and have a second ultrasound? And they said, yeah, we can do that. So they scheduled that. So while we were waiting for an hour and a half for this ultrasound to happen, all I could picture as I was holding that stone, I picked up a stone out of that waterfall, and I was holding that so hard. And as I was going through this, all that was envisioning and all that I could replay in my mind was that time that we met an angel, Jesus,
Mhm.
whatever it was on that day.
Pizza angel. Yes.
I mean, it was years before. It was years before that had happened. And it just replayed over in my mind, over and over and over. And the guy doing the ultrasound and radiology said, listen, I know why you're here, but I can tell you that her heartbeat is 114 beats per minute. And she's perfectly fine.
And she is today.
She is today. Yeah,
At
she's
5 years old.
5.5. Yep, 5.5 now.
So cute.
It's amazing. So yeah, so that's kind of our story. And when she turned about 4, I realized what an impact that she had on the lives of those around us. You know, just seeing her interact with my parents and Tony's mom and grandma and grandpa and nieces and nephews and cousins, and like a child coming into the world doesn't just affect the parents and the child, it affects so many. Like it's a ripple of you have no idea what. And I thought, man, I don't know that I'm ever going to have kids, but I really want to help other people who have been in the spot that I've been in and felt like there isn't hope, there isn't a chance, they don't have the finances, all of those things. And from that moment, then I thought, you know, I was making a list of like, what's on my strategic plan? Because we do that.
There's the attorney. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I decided I wanted to help another mom become, or another woman become a mom. And so now I've decided I want to do that every year for the rest of my life.
Well, you said to me in the pre-interview, by the time that Kate is 25,
Mm-hmm.
that you want to help 25 women bring a baby into the world. And so that has just, and you and I have this discussion about, so what's next? And you said momentousgifts.com.
Momentous gift.
So the mom.
It's actually .org, but yes, momentousgift.org. So yeah, so we started, we're starting a nonprofit organization. What we're going to do is we're going to raise money from individuals and from myself. And we're going to help others conceive or do adoption or do foster care. We're going to help support families being created. Because I don't think there's anything better in life that you can do than to help somebody become a parent. You know, it's apparent to me what an impact Kate has made on my life. And I don't want people to go, there's, 1 in 8 families struggle with infertility. That's a lot. I mean,
that's a staggering statistic considering
6.7 million people in the United States are struggling with infertility right now. That's a huge thing. And it's such a taboo topic to talk about. People just don't, it's sensitive.
It's sensitive. It's personal. It sounds like failure.
And people take it on themselves. But the reality is, what I've discovered is that your infertility really has nothing to do with you as a person, right? Something is just not aligning. You're supposed to go with a different path or something. It's
look at the different path. I mean, look at the different path you took. So I know that you're in the early stages of this. Originally, for you all, as we say in the South, I wanted Nicole to talk about her amazing program with her own team on gratitude. And this brings gratitude to me to a brand new level. It's one thing to say, celebrate the fact that you have this gorgeous little girl who brings you an exceeding joy. Even me and I just get to see pictures. But to spawn and launch and organize and execute, which you do extremely well, something bigger than yourself. You've been through the experience, and that's what Women's Wisdom Network is all about, women helping women. And if you're listening to this and you know somebody who has had issues with becoming a mom, I would say contact you. Tell us a little bit. I know that you've applied for the 501(c)(3).
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yes, so we've applied for the 501(c)(3), and so that application should be through in the next, I'm not really sure, it's the government. So hopefully very soon. But we've got our website is momentousgift.org, and that'll tell us a little bit of information. You can learn about why we're doing this. You've learned about it here. But really what we're going to do is we're going to take the funds that we raise and we're going to pay them directly to the care providers. So there isn't going to be any question or concern. Someone's going to make an application and they're going to say, this is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to do foster care, or I'm looking to do an adoption. I'm looking to do surrogacy, IVF, in vitro, frozen embryo transfer, egg donation, embryo donation, whatever they want to do. Like, it's open to everyone. And so you submit the application, say what you're going to do. Included in that is going to be, here's who my providers are going to be. And then if your grant is approved, then we're going to pay the funds on your behalf. So, so that's kind of our plan. We just want to make sure that people know that there's resources out there, and that you're not alone in doing this. And so many people are there with you, and it's nothing that you've done to create this. I think there's shame and guilt, and I think women especially hold that. And there's nothing to do with that. It literally is oftentimes just did that double helix form correctly, and that's what can cause or prevent a miscarriage. So
well,
yeah.
let's just talk really quickly about the name Mom and Us.
Yes, momentous gift. Yes, Mom meant to us.
There you go. Isn't that just amazing?
Yeah, I felt like, what can I call this? How could we do it? And the name momentous came to mind. And when I broke it down, I was like, yes, that's perfect. And really it is. Being a mom is a momentous gift.
Oh, enormous. It's enormous. So tell us how to reach you.
You can reach out on our website. And so that's momentousgift.org. And we would love to hear stories and share, even just if you're not working through our organization, but you have a great story to share, we would love to have that. So we can build that so people can understand that they're not alone. So yeah.
That would be Nicole. You understand why she rose and to get training as an attorney and then go into real estate where you're affecting a lot of people in a different way, and then to go through this journey. That's what we're all about here at Women's Wisdom Network, is sharing the journey and shining the light on the path for others. You certainly had an extraordinary story. I want to thank you so much for sharing it. It's personal. It's, I don't want to say raw, but it's we can feel the struggle that you went through, and now you celebrate with beautiful Kate. Yeah. And helping others to celebrate as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Nicole is in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, the Real Estate Center, if you just want to find her that way, but do share with us and her your stories. Thanks for joining us again. I'm Terry Murphy with the Women's Wisdom Network. Thanks for joining us, Nicole.
Thank you.